Hello, Dinner Time Nation. Hope everybody is doing well here on this Wednesday evening. Sorry.
It's Wednesday.
Yes, it is Wednesday. I hope everybody is doing well. I got put to sleep today, so time has been just, I don't know if you ever had that happen before, but when that happens, your day is like, it's like you've been asleep for 3 days. So I'm not quite sure what day we're on, but I know dinner time usually is on Wednesday, so that was what my first guess was going to be. How are you?
I'm good, Jack. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I figured I would start on the top. My mom was there with me, and apparently the first thing that I said when I woke up today was, "The doctor found that dog in me."
I mean,
I mean, is that on the Mount Rushmore of things to say on anesthesia that you don't recall?
you have to think the nurses and doctor are going to be talking about that for a while. I mean, that's an all-time comment. I mean,
Well,
you can't teach that.
apparently the nurse wasn't even there.
No.
Well,
Oh
I
man.
started talking about potential job opportunities. I may have started talking about an ex girlfriend. I mean, it had, it's just
Uh,
things. Well, look. I was a little embarrassed at first, but out of all the things that come out of your mouth when you have no idea whether you're awake or not, like it sounded to me like it went okay. So,
I mean, they found that dog in you. You don't gotta apologize for anything.
and my mom had no idea what I was talking about. She was kind of scared.
She's like, what do you mean, dog?
I was trying. No, I have. And then my first memory is like sort of trying to explain to her what that meant, and it didn't work. So,
Can you explain to us what that means?
well, so for all the people at home that don't know, there's like this meme of the X-ray of like a dog in you, which means you got like grit. You got some grit in you. And so I was
Hmm.
just pulling that one off the dome while I was unconscious. And apparently I was slurring the word, so it's a little hard to understand. But um,
Top three traits of someone who has that dog in them. Go.
grit, determination, and passion.
Mm, got that dog.
Got that dog. All right, you want to get teased?
Yeah, speaking of dogs.
All right. This one team is mailing it in, but they're doing a terrible job of doing it. We'll get to that. Biggest test for two top five teams this week. We'll break it down. And then a born rivalry from a rookie sensation's rise. And Andrew's jersey may be giving it away. That's next here on Dinner Time Tonight with Jack and Andrew, coming at you from Atlanta and the district tonight, brought together by the wonderful powers of Zoom. Let's get into our first segment, veggies and desserts. One thing that we're loving from the weekend. One thing that maybe is not something that we're liking very much, which is the veggie. Andrew, I have deferred the coin toss, so you'll be starting us out tonight. What is something? Do you want to start with good news or bad news?
Let's get the veggie out of the way. I had a nice salad for dinner tonight, so let's scarf that down. By the way, I was
Mm.
trying to tee you up on that tease as like speaking of dogs and then going to Georgia, Texas, but hey, that's okay. That's okay. We sometimes we swing, sometimes we miss. That's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Guardians need to find a way to swing and hit when the bases are loaded. But yeah, let's talk about veggies. So my veggie night, also shamelessly a little bit of Commanders, but it's been the biggest story in the NFL this week. A couple big wide receiver moves. Buffalo Bills trading for Amari Cooper. He's free from the Cleveland Browns, and the New York Jets trading for Devontae Adams from the Raiders, also free from the bad team, bad quarterbacks of Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And there was a couple tweets circling around saying, huh, these receivers went for third round picks. Devontae Adams could be optioned to a second rounder, depending on performance. But I believe Amari Cooper is just a straight up third. And I thought, huh, there was another receiver recently traded for a third round pick. And that was the Philadelphia Eagles trading for Jahan Dotson, their supposed wide
Woo!
receiver three, the supposed final piece. Um, and I don't have his stats in front of me, but I can tell you one thing. When Devontae Smith and AJ Brown were out, I don't believe it was Jahan Dotson who was stepping up to lead the Birds up in Philly. Adam Peters and the Commanders fleeced, but I mean, just tough because I don't think you've ever heard of a big three of Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams, Jahan Dotson, who I believe has never eclipsed 1,000 yards in a season. So overpay, underpay, interesting, but definitely shakes up the league a little bit, makes the Bills a little bit more of a contender, makes the Jets Aaron Rodgers playhouse, continues, So Jack, what are your thoughts on these trades and how bad did the Eagles look now?
Yeah, I mean the Eagles looked pretty bad when AJ Brown and Smith went down. and Goddard's been hurt a little bit. It's like where is everybody? So you think, oh, Jahan Dotson, they got somebody. Yeah, but he hasn't been it for them. The Jets confuse me. How are you firing your head coach this early in the season, and then you're going and trading for? I mean, I guess they're fully going all in on the diva train, right?
He's got them hostage. The Jets are a hostage at the moment. Free the Jets.
Free the Jets.
They're a hostage.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think, I mean, for the Bills, I mean, I have Shakir on my fantasy team, so I'm personally a little upset about the trade that they made, but I think you give Josh Allen a weapon. I think that trade makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, no, I thought that would make complete sense. There's also, I mean, I don't know if Cleveland's just a fire sale now. They got Nick Chubb coming back this weekend. Who knows, what kind of impact he's going to make because you still got Deshaun Watson there. Talk of, excuse me, the Lions going for Myles Garrett, like talking about Max Crosby also moving. So, if we're talking in baseball terms, it appears the Browns and the Raiders might be sellers at this deadline, which isn't for another couple weeks. So still could definitely see some big moves here. And it's interesting to see what teams actually like the Commanders might do, where they're thought to be in a longer rebuild, or recalibrate, I think, as Dan Quinn likes to call it, because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the R word. He doesn't like rebuild.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see. But you would think the Commanders might be buyers because they're a little better than you thought. Maybe some other teams like the Bills continuing to try to add pieces. I don't know. Maybe the Vikings continue to try to just get better there and bolster that team that's been, pretty good. Steelers, another team. I see the hard hat in the background. They're another team that could be buying. So interesting to see what's coming in the deadline. But oh man, Eagles looked a little bad, a little silly this week.
You know what word or two words Dan Quinn also really doesn't like?
What?
Measuring stick. Did you see this? Somebody asked him if it was a measuring stick game, and he's like, "No, don't say that." With the Ravens, we don't say that, even though it was.
Yeah,
it was definitely a measuring stick game.
And coming away from it, that's why. But we'll get into that game a little later.
Yeah. All right. Well, you mentioned the Browns, and I teased you at the beginning and said this one team is mailing in, but they're doing it a terrible way. So they trade Amari Cooper, right? They're saying season's done, right? Because they know they won't go anywhere this year. They won one game. They're ripping the Band-Aid off. They've decided season's over for us. But yet, Deshaun Watson, may I remind you, is still the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Why? Because they're paying him a lot of money, but it's a sunk cost. And Econ 101 will tell you it is a sunk cost. So his expected points added, this is a hashtag analytics right here, ranks 590th out of 592 quarterbacks who started the first 6 games of a season since 2000. All that to say, really, really bad at football. So
Jack, do you know any of the names around that? I know one of them.
Josh Rosen. I bet Jamarcus Russell is probably on that list.
I think he might be as well.
So my question is, if you're tanking the season, if you've admitted the season is done, why are you still putting that PR nightmare, the league's PR nightmare, the Browns' PR nightmare? Why are you still asking guys on the team like Joel Bitonio and Myles Garrett to go out there and play hurt with a guy that stinks at football and is a terrible person, and the only reason you have him out there is because you're paying him a lot of money? Like, you're losing, like, you're doing permanent damage to this organization by keeping him out there. And if you've already tanked the season, you might as well put the guy in that can't be worse and is a much better person.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing about the Browns is if they put Jameis in, you have to think they're going to rattle off some wins. Like a team that it would be like you'd probably see a different team. The team would be so much happier. You'd free the team. Like, so they still, like, coming into the season, they had like Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. Nick Chubb's still down from injury, but Jerome Ford's not a bad running back at all. Like, they had some guys. Like, their defense is pretty good. I said that a couple weeks ago. Like, they're not a bad team. They just have a horrible, horrible quarterback. And like, it's always infectious. Like, anything about it's completely infectious. You see it all the time when teams fire their head coach, they win the next game. Because it's like, no matter what, no matter who's on the roster, like, if you have the bad culture, if it's bad, it just seeps through everything. It's everything. So, yeah, I just think all the intangibles in this one matter as much as the tangibles. And I mean, like, is he selling jerseys? Like, what kind of person do you have to be to buy? What kind of person do you have to be to buy a Deshaun Watson jersey?
If he is, what kind of person?
Here, Jack, you keep going on yours. I'm going to pull up the Browns team store real quick. I'm
All
actually
right.
curious.
All right. Well, so I was looking at the Athletic today where I found that EPA stat, and they were saying something about how a second round pick approximately equates to about $16 million. So they were trying to say if you put together about three second round picks with Deshaun Watson, you could maybe offload his contract. I mean, such a ridiculous conversation talking about how many picks would you have to give up for another team to take a guy like Deshaun Watson, which is crazy. But they also said too, if they sat him for a long period of time, not only would it be a good thing for the NFL, but it would maybe lower that cost a little bit. Like some team would be like, okay, we maybe just have to like give him a shot or something like that, which I don't know if they even would. But uh, basically, it makes no sense for the Browns to keep playing him. They should just bench him, but they won't. And I feel bad because I know Kevin Stefanski probably doesn't want to play him, but ownership above is probably making him. So
All right, Jack, you want to guess the name of the first quarterback's jersey that is sold in the order of if you're scrolling on the Browns official site? You want to guess the name?
Johnny Football.
That'd be funny. Not too far off. Baker Mayfield is still the number 9 jersey or number 8, I think, being sold on the Browns website. A lot of defensive players, a lot of Nick Chubb. Not seeing a lot of old Deshaun on here.
That's a gritty football team right there.
Yeah, needless to say, not yeah. I still have not seen a Deshaun. There are a lot of custom jerseys before you can even get to Deshaun. Oh, there he is. Still behind Baker Mayfield's away jersey.
You're getting a white
Um,
NFL jersey.
Surprised some dude. They're still selling the full price too. That's oh boy.
Might be on the dollar aisle soon.
So Baker Mayfield has played for the Carolina Panthers, the Los Angeles Rams, and now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and is still listed on the Cleveland Browns website to sell jerseys above Deshaun Watson.
Is that an indicator that he might not be that popular in Cleveland?
Might be all you need to know.
All right, let's pivot. So, how satisfying is it as a team? I think like on a scale of like 1 to 10, how satisfying is it when you know your team owns the line of scrimmage and they are just pummeling a team up front?
Super satisfying.
I think that might be the best thing in football. Honestly, best feeling in football. It's like knowing you just got numbers up front, like knowing you got bodies up front, and you're just gonna smash them.
Both sides of the football, man. If you got guys in the trenches, like special.
You got guys in the trenches. You need to relax. You
You
need to
kind of
relax.
relax. That's yeah,
So,
exactly.
so the Falcons ran for 200 yards against Carolina. Technically 198, but Kirk was taking some knees at the end. They had two running backs that averaged 100 yards. So Algier ran for 105 and Bijan ran for 95. And watching that game was incredible. They had 13 rushing first downs. They had over 5 yards a carry, three rushing touchdowns, and scored 38 points. I mean, when I tell you Carolina had no answers, I mean the back of their pants were looking very stained. Were looking very stained. Grass, dirt, you name it. Maybe something else from how scared they were. I mean, it was a field day for the Falcons on the ground, and it was just satisfying football to watch. That's my third is just the satisfaction of watching a team that you know owns the line of scrimmage own that line of scrimmage. And if I was a Panthers fan, that'd be my veggie because I think there's no worse feeling than knowing that you're being dominated up front. You don't have the size up front, and you're just hoping like something crazy happens.
Yeah, I definitely know something about that a little bit. I would say I think a sneaky Zerd on there is also just playing your team playing the Panthers, like feels pretty
I mean,
good.
playing the Panthers, yeah, we're now 4-0 in the NFC.
Defense was a little shaky.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Falcons are kind of in like the Commanders position where it's like you can't ask for everything to be good, everything to be good. Like you just got to be excited. You got to take the wins as they come.
Very fair, very fair. Speaking of things not being good, Commanders defense was pretty putrid. You talk about getting dominated on the line of scrimmage. Derrick Henry made them look like they were still college players, which is fitting because we run a college offense anyways. So Commanders Ravens, man, what a special rivalry. And I happened to be there in person, but it really was the game of the week. And I just think it's a sleeping giant of a rivalry. I was saying it after, and I've said it to some people today. I was surprised about how much I got kind of chirped there. Like, you're an away fan. You know, you're on enemy turf. But there are a lot of, first of all, there are a lot of Commanders fans there. So shout out to them for showing out. And it was eminent in the ticket prices because it was an expensive game to go to. Like it was hard to get in. So it was a really good atmosphere. But man, like Ravens are like, yeah, little brother, like Commanders, and it's like it's a funny dichotomy because I think a lot of Commanders fans almost expected, at least I expected Ravens fans to almost be like happy for us, be like, yeah, Jaden's like a dog, like good for you guys. Because so many years, I feel like a lot of Commanders fans, we have a 4-win season and then we cheer for the Ravens in the playoffs because we're like, yeah, local team. And I think I expected like a little camaraderie there, and I guess that was just naive because it was a little like it was a little hostile, and it was more so than I expected. And you can tell Ravens fans are a little sensitive; they haven't won the Super Bowl yet, and they're a little protective about Lamar, and they don't like the comments, but they love Derrick Henry there. Let me tell you that, and for good reason. That guy, I haven't really seen this get talked about anywhere, and maybe it's just something I missed. He's not far off pace from breaking the single season rushing record. Like
That's crazy to think about.
not far off pace. I mean, he's probably about on the actual 16 game schedule. He's probably about 100 yards off, but it's not crazy to like make up that kind of ground when you have so many games left. Like what, 11 games left? I guess 10 games left if you're going on the 16 game schedule. So like yeah, I for it to count in my mind, you got to do it in 16 games because you know that's what the other guys did. But I just don't think that's getting talked about. He's got like 700 something yards right now. Crazy. That dude's a dog. But yeah, that rivalry, this game's got to be played more. And I was saying after the game, these teams got to play each other more because you could tell it was a little chippy. There was some shoving at
Right.
the end. Like, you know, it's these guys are in each other's backyard, and you know maybe the Commanders are a little brother, but you know on the come up, and a lot of people were I think on that 4th and goal, Jaden to Terry, that stadium got really quiet because Ravens fans have seen them blow some games in the fourth quarter, and it got really quiet. And then Derrick Henry ripped like a 20-yard rush, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're good." Like their defense is terrible, which they are.
St.
Um,
Jude's not getting the job done.
Nobody's getting the job done, Jack. Nobody, except for Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, dogs. Nobody's getting the job done. Yeah, nobody. Like it's our secondary is an open door. Zay Flowers at 130 receiving yards in the first half.
Yeah, no, he was having a field day. I love this rivalry though. I love this new rivalry. I feel like it's
Yeah.
got like I mean Lamar Jaden Daniels like I mean he's I don't want to use the E word with him yet, but he's a great quarterback. He's great. And Lamar elite quarterback and Derrick Henry generational running back. And the Commanders are still putting it together. They're kind of the younger brother on the block. The Ravens have been there, but they got a chip on their shoulder because they haven't gotten that big one yet with Lamar. You got two nice head coaching personalities in Harbaugh and DQ. So, man, I love this rivalry. I think they should be playing every year. I mean, it's a shame they're not in the same division because they could be playing twice every year. That'd be electric. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I was trying to figure out with the NFL scheduling if it was possible, but I just feel like the NFL looks at this and like by every right, it should have been a Sunday night game, which would have been crazy. But like this game should be played at least every couple, like at least every couple, because it has sort of that backyard brawl kind of vibe, like Pitt and West Virginia, where like it is so close that you can tell these guys got it's a little personal for them. It really is a little personal. So it was really fun. And in terms of measuring stick, the Commanders measured from against like a great team, Super Bowl hopeful. Commanders are here, a good team, which is fine with me.
yeah, no, I mean, in this day and age, three wildcard teams, uh, like playoffs are not out of the question,
Oh, I
especially in
don't.
that division
We're not talking about wild card.
especially in that division. I mean, the division is normally really strong, but like this year, like the Eagles, yeah, like the Eagles got issues. I picked them -9 versus the Browns, and I'm telling you, they're on full fraud alert for what they did to me. How do you not beat the Browns? The Browns have a generationally bad offense. How do you not beat them by 9? You're a team that was in
No.
the Super Bowl not too long ago. How do you not beat them by more than 9? Sorry
Yeah,
for
we
the
don't need to go
tangent,
down.
but
Well, no, we don't got to go down the rabbit hole. But like I think you're about to say, Cowboys terrible, Giants terrible, especially when Malik Neighbors is just partying with Travis Scott while on a concussion. Um, and the Eagles are in disarray. So I not out of the Commanders have been the leader in the division from week 2 onward.
yeah,
So
yeah. Shout out
that's just a fact. Just a fact.
shout out loyal dinner time listener Nate DeWitt, Lions fan. I told him I'd shout out the Lions tonight.
Shout out the
Lions looking
Lions.
really good. I mean, I feel terrible for Aiden Hutchinson. That dude's got TJ Watt like style. Like that dude could be a generational guy like TJ Watt if he just keeps doing it. But that broken leg, man, that's stunk to
Hey,
watch.
go get Miles Garrett. Go get Max Crosby. Go free the guys. Go free them.
I feel like your window is short. I feel like they would be smart too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to some college ball. I teased you. I said biggest test for two top 5 teams: Georgia and Texas. Number 5 and number 1. Georgia's 5-1. Texas 6-0. If you look at Georgia's schedule, they got that one loss to Alabama, 41-34. Texas is taking care of everybody. They're coming off of a 34-3 win over Oklahoma. I think initial impressions of this game, by the way, Texas 5-point favorite, is that I think this is Texas's game to lose, and not because of Georgia, but just because like Texas has got number 1 defense in the country. In terms of scoring, they got number 5 scoring offense in the country. They're coming off of just a deflating win over Oklahoma from Oklahoma's perspective, and a game that's usually very close. I mean, until Georgia's going to bring them a challenge, but they're also playing at home too. So, in my opinion, this is a game that's about Texas. Like, what will Texas do in this game? If Texas makes mistakes, I think Georgia has a chance to win, but Texas hasn't really shown that they're even human this year. They've been just a machine all year.
Yeah, I think I after the Bama game, what I think people have lost is that Georgia. I'll put it this way: so Georgia so far this year is 1-5 against the spread, and not to say that Georgia's wins and losses like matter in terms of like covering, but it sets there's a bar for expectations on these lines. Like the betting lines are supposed to make it like a coin flip. But like that's what the expectation is that you win by about this much. Like this is what the computers say, whatever. 1-5. They're an underperforming team. They did not put away Mississippi State. Mississippi State is terrible. They are terrible. You have to, yeah, exactly.
Capital T.
You got to put them away. And so if I had to put a prediction on this game right now, and I did say last week I thought Oregon would win outright, and I'm proud of saying that. If I had to put a prediction on this game right now, I would say Texas wins by 2 scores.
Mm.
I don't see this one being close. And maybe Georgia comes out and they look different and they look incredible, but let's face it, Georgia's number 5 right now because they beat a Clemson team that wasn't ready for the season, that has continued to take steps forward every week. They almost fell on the road to Kentucky. They barely handled Auburn. They barely handled Mississippi State. They lost to Bama after playing one of the worst first halves I've ever seen. One of the worst first quarters I've ever seen, rather.
Yeah, that was terrible.
You know, it's this team. They've shown an inability to go on the road against Kentucky and Alabama. Like when the line came out, I think it opened at 4 or 3.5, surprisingly low.
Yeah, it skyrocketed. It skyrocketed in 20 minutes up to 5.5, and then came down.
Yeah, I think it's a touchdown game at least. I expected 6.5 because Texas is at home, and like Texas has done it, man. Like, and I'm not saying the Michigan win looks as good anymore. But you still went in there and beat them, you know?
Yeah.
And you took care of them. And it's the same with Oklahoma. You still went out there and you took care of them. It's not that it was ever a game for either of those. It was you went out there and you destroyed them. And like that's the mark of a dominant team in college football, especially this year's college football. You know, more so than any year, you got teams falling to Vandy. You got teams, falling to Kentucky.
Whoa, Vandy. I mean, let's put some respect on Vandy's name.
Maybe we need to.
They're ahead of Alabama right now in the SEC standings for the tiebreaker.
Well, there you go. But that's what you get my point.
Yeah,
Tennessee's struggling. I think more so than any year, you need to value putting away medium to good teams, and Texas has done that. And I just think Texas is a wagon. They're scary, and I think I think this is where it starts to unravel this season for Georgia because Georgia's been fake the whole year, as far as I can tell. And really, unless Kirby cracks the code this week in practice and they come out and look like a completely different team, which maybe they do because I still think Kirby's a good coach. So I think there's that chance. But otherwise, if we're talking about the teams we've seen, Texas kills them.
Yeah, well, so Georgia was a favorite for 49 straight games dating back to 21. This is their first game that they're an underdog for in 3 seasons. Texas, unanimous, number 1 defense, scoring defense, total defense, yards per play, yards per attempt. They're all number 1. They're the best team in the country in terms of drives that end in turnovers on downs, turnovers or punts. So, point saying their defense is really good. I think if there's a matchup to watch in this game, Carson Beck threw for almost 500 yards last week. He's 9th in the country in passing yards. Texas's pass defense is nuts. They're averaging only 126 passing yards allowed per game. So if Georgia can break that secondary, I think that's their shot in the game. Like Beck's gonna have to come out slinging the ball early, and if they make some big plays early on in the game, like I could see him sticking in it. But if Texas's defense is clamping on Carson Beck and makes Georgia kind of play in the trenches, like I don't see it.
I think the biggest thing for Georgia is, you got to stop the run. Obviously, I don't think Texas's D line is going to have an issue with that. I think the biggest thing is second down. Yeah, I think you can watch how this game's going to unfold on second down because if Carson Beck's on time, on the road, feeling confident, and he's able to, put like some gash this secondary a little bit. And I'm not even talking about the big plays. I'm talking about the 5 to 10 yards that keep your offensive rhythm, keep the tempo going. Because it's a tale as old as time where when Georgia's offense over the last year and a half when they don't get going, when Carson Beck can't get in rhythm, it's bad to watch. It's really bad to watch. And you saw it in the SEC championship last year versus Bama, where they kind of just went dormant. You saw it in the first half versus Bama this year, where they kind of went dormant. And it's just like when they can't get in rhythm, it's bad. So I think if you watch early on second down and you see how Texas handles them, I think that'll tell you a lot about the outcome of the game.
Another storyline too. Quinn Ewers back last week. Honestly, didn't play that great. Threw an interception in the first drive. Threw for under 200 yards. I mean, it was one of those games where Texas was so much better than Oklahoma. He didn't need to play well, and just kind of wondering. I mean, he's not had a lot of high pressure games this year where he's really needed to play well. I mean, they were kind of stomping Michigan pretty early on in that game. If Georgia gets off to a hot start and they really need him to play well, I wonder how healthy he is and how ready he is for the moment. That's
Yeah.
another thing that I want to look at. I think Texas wins by a touchdown, so I would take him to cover. But that is another thing that I'm watching is Ewers.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I trust Ewers in big games. Health's obviously a concern. An interesting way this game goes is if Ewers somehow goes down again and you throw Arch Manning into the biggest game of his life, I'd be interested to see how he reacts. So I
Yeah,
guess if you read it as Ewers isn't healthy, high re-injury potential, whatever, that would be an very interesting twist for this game. Very interesting.
yeah. I think point is Georgia's got to be aggressive from the jump. Defense and offense, they got to be aggressive. Because I think they're going to get outmatched by Texas if they come in and play soft at the beginning. All right, Alabama at Tennessee. So Alabama's 7, Tennessee's 11. Both are 5-1, 2-1 in conference. Got 3:30 kick from Neyland Stadium. This one is really a toss up. The last number I looked, I saw was -1 on the Alabama side, which means that they think Alabama's probably 4 points better, but they're playing on the road, so giving them a few points. They might be giving them 3.5 at Neyland because that is a tough place to play. But Andrew, initial thoughts on this game from you?
I think I don't know this. I mean, you talk about almost
Toss up.
a must win for both teams, as Joe Buck once said in Game 7 of the World Series. And I really think it is. Because you look at Tennessee still has to go on the road versus Georgia, and I was just kind of crapping all over Georgia a little bit there. It's still Georgia's not an easy team. Like the talent on and the speed and physicality and Kirby, like good team, and like I'm saying how they've underperformed. They've underperformed their expectation of being the second best team in the country and the fifth best team in the country. So like keep things in perspective here. Carson Beck's still Heisman hopeful. Um, so like Tennessee, the road doesn't get easier. And Bama still has to play Texas, I believe, in a week, maybe 2 weeks. I can double check that in a moment. But the road doesn't get easier, I don't believe. So, coming into this game, I think the biggest pressure is on, DeBoer.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it just feels like a weird season where you got Saban looking over your shoulder. Saban's making some comments about Bama, talking about how, they should keep panning to him at the games, and it's this whole thing. And, DeBoer knew what he was walking into. Like you're replacing that kind of guy, but it just feels like, I mean, the Vandy game, it's like, oh, Saban never would have lost this game. And it's like, yeah, maybe he never would have, but it's, I think all eyes are on DeBoer because, when you lose to a team like Vandy, that Georgia win looks a little more flukish. And it's like, well, maybe if Georgia doesn't come out and just like completely mess everything up, like that's not even a win. So I think it's just important for Bama to look good here. And I think it's important, obviously both teams need to win for the playoff hopes, but I think it's important really for Bama to look good because otherwise Like I think there's rumblings of DeBoer hot seat. I really think
Whoa,
there
whoa,
is.
whoa, whoa! I think he calmed a lot of it down after the Georgia win.
I think he did. I think he did. I'm just saying, if I'm coming at this from the perspective of a Bama fan base, an entitled
Yeah.
fan base,
Who else is going to coach the team though?
and I'm not saying there's a better option out there. I'm just saying, I would guess you will start to see Bama fans say maybe this wasn't the right guy for the job.
I mean, that is a conversation that could be had. So Alabama's got
I'm not,
Tennessee.
yeah, I'm not saying I have it. That's all. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah.
I have it. I'm just saying.
So Alabama's got Tennessee. They host Missouri. They go to LSU. They host Mercer. I mean, Texas Mercer, somewhat similar. They go to Oklahoma and then they host Auburn. So no
Okay,
Texas.
so no Texas. I mixed it up.
Um,
My fault. So actually,
but
the road does get a little easier.
yeah, I mean, so to me in this
Tennessee's does not.
to me in this game, I'm looking at two teams that offensively I don't trust. Nico, it looked like he's regressed a little bit. He scored 23 versus Florida, 14 versus Arkansas, 25 versus Oklahoma. That's not exactly. I mean, on the road, it's a better total, but not great. And then for Alabama, last game versus South Carolina, it's just a it didn't really do it for me. 27 at home versus South Carolina, you couldn't put them away. You're playing from behind. You went down 13 nothing on the road to Vandy after a pick six. So offensively, that didn't really do it for me. In this game in Neyland, I give a big advantage to the home crowd. Tennessee, I mentioned that stop rate where amount of drives in and a punt, a turnover, or turnover on downs. Tennessee is third in the country in that, so 82% of their opponents' drives in. So their defense is legitimate. So I'm leaning Tennessee in a game where I know they can run the football. I know that defensively they're going to be there, and I know the crowd is going to be into it. I mean, a 3:30 kick in Knoxville, I think it's going to be tough for Alabama, and I don't know what either of these teams are really, to be honest. It's I mean I've seen plenty of them, but I don't understand. I don't understand either of them. I don't understand. Alabama seems like the most talented team in the country, but then they almost lose to South Carolina and then they lose to Vanderbilt. So what are they? And then Tennessee, they looked like one of the most talented teams in the country, and then they lose to Arkansas on the road and almost lose to Florida. Like who are they? So this is a big who are they game.
Well, yeah, no, I think it's weird because it's a measuring stick, but you're basically trying to measure like who's taller. Like it's not even
Yeah.
like there's one, set. It's like it's just like, wait, who is better of you two? Because we don't know. And it's I think it's a good thing for Tennessee. Middle linebackers hurt on Tennessee's defense, I believe, right?
Sounds about right. That's
Anyways,
should have thought
could
about
be
that.
something there. Could be something to that on the stop rate just for organization. But you're at home, so you have to think maybe the communication, not as big of a deal. Who knows? Um, what I will say on Tennessee's end, I think an underrated thing in college football, like, or underrated just time slot, is when you start the game in the afternoon, it starts to get dark as it gets later in the game. I think that's kind of hype. Night games are obviously like night games, prime time. You got it. You get into that fourth quarter, it's a close game, starts to get dark out, stadium gets a little louder. Like, I don't know, just like the energy builds, something
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Just a little extra take there on something pretty random.
Well, the show is called Fall is Here because I woke up yesterday and I'm like, what in the world? I walked outside and it was chilled. There was a chill in the air, and I'm like, it is fall.
I want
You know,
soup. I want soup for lunch tomorrow.
I've been eating
I,
soup,
oh yeah, what kind of soup you been eating?
chicken noodle.
Special. I want
Special.
super grilled cheese, man. That's all I want. Soup and grilled cheese. Yeah, there's a little chill in the air. I mean, it's football weather, man. It's fall. NFL is underway. Like, we're 6 weeks in, man. 6 weeks in. Third of the way done. Crazy. It's we're trying to and in college football, we're trying to find out who's who. Because what in the world has this season been? Like who is who? The top 25 in my memory has never, especially the top five, top four, top five, in and out, in and out. I, it's Texas and everyone else. And if Georgia beats Texas, I don't know who's anybody. Because I think at that point you have the top 25 circle where it's like this team beat this team, beat this team, beat this. Like it's if Georgia beats Texas, it is truly, truly chaos.
Can
Maybe,
we?
maybe they're taking after college basketball.
I mean, this is March, more like this October. Can we get Navy and Army in the college football playoff? Can we do that? If can we at least just get one of them in there? I think it'd be so cool to have one of them in there.
I don't think I just yeah, group of five.
Champion, conference champion.
One is very, very much doable. I mean, it's basically what Boise, Army, and Navy right now.
To
I think
my
those are
knowledge,
the
yeah.
those are the top three. So I mean, it's yeah, I think it's very conceivable, very, very conceivable,
I
and
need
especially
Navy. I need
because
Navy
at the end
there.
of the year, well, I mean, at the end of the year, both teams are undefeated. It's a good ranked win for whichever team comes out on top. So it just adds to the resume in the end, anyways.
Well,
So
both of them have Notre Dame. I know Navy at least has Notre Dame. I believe both of them do. So that's an opportunity right there. If one of them, if they go undefeated and beat Notre Dame, I mean, you got to put them in. Got to put them in.
well, I mean, and talking about the chaos, it's funny. Like Notre Dame, remember when they lost to Northern Illinois and it was like season's over? What are they, 11 now? Like I mean, they're back up. Like it's craziness. It's just absolute craziness. The carousel, and I keep saying it, man. It's you know, conference realignment, whatever. You don't get Oregon and Ohio State playing each other last week. That was a pretty cool game. And NIL transfer portal, you can complain, players won't stay, but the talent's spreading out and it's making for some really fun games.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to picks. Last week, I'm gonna wear it on the chin. I went 0-2.
Ooh.
Not great. I liked the picks, honestly. I mean, the Penn State won. They just didn't cover.
Well, I'm glad you're not rooting for Pixie Dislike.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought Penn State should have played a better game, and I thought the Eagles should have played a better game. I mean, it's just I don't regret the plays. I just wish they had hit. I just wish they hit. There's some
Fair
plays
enough. Fair
there's
enough.
some plays I have where I'm just like that was dumb. I don't think they were dumb. I just think they lost. Do you have a do you
Okay.
have you have a record tally on you or
Yeah, 1-1. Texans was easy. And then I snuck in at the end. I was like, wait, wait, wait. I didn't make my second pick. I wish I kept my mouth shut. Illinois. I was all over Illinois. That game broke me. I don't
mm,
think too many people were paying attention to Illinois Purdue. I think it was mostly on Texas, Oklahoma. Best believe I was paying attention to Illinois Purdue up 24-3 at half. And you want to guess the final score of that game, Jack?
no, I
I don't know if
don't.
you remember. Well, Illinois won 50-49. So I don't know what the hell happened
Yeah,
there.
that was a weird
Um,
game. That should be like a 7-3 game, not a 50-49 game.
I've never in my life seen a football game turn on its head the way that game turned. That was unbelievable. I Sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you just lose.
Sometimes you just wear it on the chin. So, all right, this week I'm going Indiana -6.5 at home versus Nebraska. Indiana's
Love it.
undefeated. I think they're going to stay undefeated. I like Raiola, but on the road in at Indiana, I think this might be a tough play for him. And then I'm going to take the Packers -2.5 at home versus the Texans. The Texans had a pretty easy win at New England. I think the Packers defense has really stepped up, and I think they're going to make Stroud make some tough plays, especially without Nico. And I like Jordan Love too, so I'm taking the Packers -2.5. I think they'll win by field goal.
That's a that was a spicy pick out of you. Spicy pick.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't know. That's a game where I looked at it and I was like, oof, I don't know if I want to touch that. So hey, excuse me, more power to you. I was wrong on like a 18.5 point spread last week, so I can't even talk anything. But the one thing I'll say on the Nebraska pick, what I really like about it is they've only played one road game so far this year. Actually, they've mostly been at home, and their one road game was against Purdue, who usually has a pretty tough atmosphere, but has been so terrible this year in every game except for Illinois that it doesn't really matter. So I think it's going to be a little tough on the road here, and Indiana's excited about their football team. So I really like that pick a lot. And I think I think Nebraska's a good team, but I think Indiana's a good team too. So I like it. What was the spread on that one again?
On Indiana,
Yeah, Indiana's
I had 6.5.
6.5. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I just didn't remember. Yeah, I think a touchdown is reasonable. Here's what I'm working with this week. Praise a lot of Commanders this show, obviously. Big fan. I like a -8 this week. Carolina stinks, just as Jack also alluded to. And the Commanders like to run the ball. Brian Robinson might be out, but Austin Eckler looks great. Jeremy McNichols looks good too. And Jane Dinos can do 80 yards himself anyways. So there was a photo of Jaden after that game, just kind of looking like the LeBron meme where he's like staring up, like looking up angry. It was like Jaden and it was like, help God help the Panthers next week. Panthers aren't going in the right direction. Andy Dalton's magic is gone. They're just a bad football team. They're just a bad
They're
football
not
team. And
good.
hey, Deontay Johnson can get a real good look at the Commanders uniforms because he might be wearing one soon. So, we'll do some networking on the field. Hopefully, our DBs can stay close enough to him so that they can have a conversation. We'll see. We'll see. I like the -8. I also like on the college side, BYU this week. I think they've been a strong team all year. I think they're 5-1 against the spread or 6-0 against the spread this year. Um, they're just a good football team, and especially at home. They really take care of business at home. And in a year where the Big 12 has been pretty up and down, don't really know who's who, especially in that conference where you kind of have this jumble of Arizona, Kansas State, West Virginia's had some interesting results. Utah, who knows? Arizona State, who knows? Um, just kind of a weird jumble of teams this year, especially without Texas and Oklahoma in the conference. Not really a clear top dog per se. Um, I like BYU. I think they're a really good team. I guess they would be the de facto top dog at this point, unless I'm really egregiously forgetting anybody. But BYU's been good this year, especially at home. So I like them this week.
Yeah, I like the BYU pick. I'd say I'm a little the NFL like more than a touchdown spreads always concerned me just because
Yeah.
I thought with the 9 with the Eagles I was like there's no way they're not gonna, but I feel like the NFL, the Panthers are bad, but I guess you just never know, so I don't know. I'm a little hesitant now
Commanders have
over
just blown
touchdown
out teams
spreads.
this year
Yeah.
too, though. Like they really have put the hurt on some teams when they've been bad. Like the Cardinals was blowout, and the Browns was blowout. So I still feel pretty good about it. And the Commanders are at home, and I think that home atmosphere is actually starting to come back. So
Yeah.
little respect to Northwest Stadium.
All right, so we got BYU and we got the commies from the kid on the right. The Hawks just won another preseason game, by the way. The Hawks, or actually no, they lost tonight, but they won because Jalen Johnson had 20 points. So
Jack, can I bring up one more thing?
yeah,
I met the left hand up guy.
yes, we should have put the picture on the screen.
Yeah, well, post production.
Post production.
Hey, if you're not familiar, the Commanders have a unofficial anthem. It has about 300K videos or views on YouTube. Left hand up. Who are we, the Commanders? Met the guy. He was out there in Baltimore, at the bars, happy to take photos with everyone. Had the most Commanders drip I've ever seen. Super fan. Probably cried after the game. Don't blame him. Incredible to meet him. Just incredible. And he wanted a picture with us for his Instagram. So I don't know what his Instagram is. I remember it had about 1,000 followers. Um, Need to check, but hopefully can make the gram at some point. But met the left hand up guy.
Who are
Left hand
we?
up. Left hand up.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for the show tonight. Another good show. We covered some college football, some NFL at the top of the show. You got any World Series predictions before we head out? I saw the Dodgers are giving it to the Mets right now.
No, they really. I don't like any of these teams. Mets
Yeah.
knocked the Phillies out.
I like the
Dodgers
guard
aren't
dogs.
likable. Yeah, I like the guard dogs, but they're not going to win. So we're heading for Yankees versus another team I don't like. I'll watch. And I don't know. I guess I'll root for. Are there any players I still like? I mean, I like honestly, I like Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie. Like they're not an unlikable
No.
group of guys. They wear the Dodgers uniform, so you gotta hate them. But like they're a likable group of guys. Shohei's probably got like 1 million on them to win anyway, so I don't want him to go into debt. Just kidding. $1 million doesn't mean anything to him, but yeah, I guess I'll root for those guys. I guess that makes me a Dodgers fan. Just I mean, you can't root for the Mets after they knock you out. So and can't root for the Yankees, who are going to beat the Guardians anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I guess I'm a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to have a Subway Series, World Series, Mets and Yankees, but I don't really
I
want
don't
to cheer
need
for
I don't
them.
need the I don't need the glazing. I mean, it's just New York. New York. Everyone's like, oh, let's do New York. No, dude, I don't want that. New York fans don't need it. They don't
Yeah,
like. They don't
they
need it.
don't need it.
They'll
All
be
right.
they'll be like, oh, we don't win that. They don't need it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight.